Hey everyone, Brandon Laws here, and welcome to Transform Your Workplace, the show where we explore the ideas, tools, and stories that help leaders build healthy, high-performing organizations. Every week, we shine light on the strategies that make work better for people and more successful for business. Before we dive in, a quick thanks to today's sponsor, Xenium HR. If juggling HR, payroll, and compliance keeps you up at night, Xenium's complete HR plus payroll solution is the guide you need. Think of it like this. Every payroll question opens 5 more HR questions, and scattered vendors only multiplies the headaches. Xenium unites HR management, payroll administration, and even benefits in one seamless workflow, backed by a dedicated service team that handles the paperwork and the ever-changing legal landscape, so you can focus on growing your business. Are you ready to get the freedom you deserve? Head over to xeniumhr.com to learn more. Now grab your favorite beverage and settle in, because today I'm talking with Fritz Brumder, co-founder of WiseOx and a true pioneer in the AI space. Fritz and his team are building what they call AI Mascots. Imagine a secure, customized assistant that can instantly answer HR or ops questions by reading your private SOPs, policies, and help center docs without leaking a single byte to the public internet. Automate multi-step workflows like applicant screening or onboarding, freeing your team from the slow manual stuff. Jump from chat to email to voice and even multiple languages so employees and customers can interact however they prefer. In our conversation, you're going to learn why legacy chatbots fell short. You're going to learn the 80-20 security model WiseOx swears by, simple low-risk ways to pilot AI inside your company, the future skills that matter most, and a realistic 1, 2, and 10-year forecast for how AI will reshape talent, trust, and the very nature of work. If you've been AI curious but worried about security, compliance, or just plain overwhelmed by it, this episode will give you a clear roadmap and the confidence to start transforming your workplace today. All right, let's get to it. Here's my conversation with Fritz Brumder of WiseOx. Fritz, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you, Brandon.
Anytime I get an AI expert, I've got to do a podcast on it, because this stuff is coming so fast, and I'm finding like in my world, I'm using it for a lot of different things. And, we haven't even seen the impact at like the organization level. Like I think most organizations, small business for the most part, they're looking at it at an individual level, because people are able to, go sign up for a free ChatGPT account or Gemini account and start playing around with it. Whereas adoption is a lot harder at the organization level. So I want to get into it with you, but a little background on you've built and exited out of 2 very successful companies, but you couldn't stay out of the startup world. You started another company called WiseOx, and for listeners who are curious about your background and why starting another company, what do you see as the market need for this?
Yeah. Well, first of all, there's a couple trends in the products that I have created along with the team, because at WiseOx, everybody on the team has worked together in prior companies. And the common thread there is we love to build tools and technology that help people create something net new, especially in a hyper trend space. Previously, I built 2 companies called Brand Live out of Portland and Zipcan out of Bend, Oregon, where I live now. And both of those companies allowed people to create new live video content, both streaming content and one-to-one chat content. And so we created all the software and tools and capabilities and branding and settings and all that kind of stuff around the delivery of live video. And after exiting Zipcan, we just had perfect timing where ChatGPT had launched. AI was already a big thing, but as we know, there's like a second revolution of AI that happened kind of 2022 timeframe, basically. And it just changed the game for how people think about and how people are exposed to AI. And therefore, we wanted to build something that allowed everyday workers, and mostly B2B scenarios is the software that we've created, allow people to control and customize and create an AI that is something more specific and contextual to their situation. So we came up with this idea of AI mascots. And that's, in a nutshell, what WiseOx does. It allows you to create AI mascots, which are kind of similar to AI agents or AI assistants.
I'm curious with the other two companies, had you dabbled in any artificial intelligence work, or was this really product when ChatGPT came out on the scene and you're like tinkering around with it and you're like, I'm going to go build another company? Like, which came first?
Yeah. It's really interesting. This is true in every business, and probably a lot of the reason why people haven't put as much time and energy into learning AI and adopting AI in their companies. They have a core service and offering and customers that they need to keep happy every day. And so to like pivot your whole business into a new direction is pretty hard. So video technology has tons and tons of dependencies and requirements, and to make it work really well requires a lot of time and attention. So we had machine learning or ML based features. We had what back then we wouldn't have considered AI based features, but they were like looking at analytics and trying to predict something or create something new based on prior trends. So we wouldn't have called them Gen AI at that time, but it would have been hard for us to take a business that had a large going concern of customers and revenue and pivot it towards AI. And so that's why I said it was kind of perfect timing for us, because starting from scratch allows you to create something much more unique than thinking about this new trend in AI with the context and history of a business that you already have.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up some of those terms like machine learning, predictive, and generative AI. I mean, I think people get confused around some of those terms and what they all mean. And like chatbots, for example, a lot of people are using ChatGPT or Gemini or any of those chatbot tools that are generative AI, but chatbots have been around for a long time, but those operate very differently, don't they? So like maybe delineate the difference between what we're seeing now and how organizations are adopting with some of these generative AI tools versus like the chatbots of old and how those actually work.
Yeah. So I often say to people the easiest way to understand what the real change in AI and LLM, large language models, or NLP, natural language processing, those are acronyms that you've probably heard to some extent. The core of what that does is when I say knock, knock,
who's there?
Every human brain can do that computation to understand when I say these two words, the next two words that 100% should follow are those two words. And then obviously after that, there's like infinite number of jokes that could come as knock knock. The natural language processing is doing the same thing. So it understands language to the point that whatever you say, it can understand and interpret what you're asking for and then provide a response and a result for you that is highly correlated to what you just asked. So that's what natural language processing is. Our brains are doing natural language processing whenever I say knock knock, or the examples can be extrapolated out from that. And then that can go into really valuable things like the mission and vision of Xenium is
transform your workplace.
And there you go. So every employee knows that. If you could teach an AI that, because ChatGPT may not know the answer to that right away.
It should. It does. I tested it.
You guys are big enough. Yes.
Yeah.
So it knows that, but it may not know a lot of private data and private content and information and product details. And what are all the inner workings of Xenium that are natural language based? We got passionate about the idea of exposing all of that company private data to a large language model and then using that to sort of teach and customize and contextualize your interaction with an AI. So the question was chatbots. Why is that different? Why is natural language processing new and different than a traditional chatbot on a website? Those were very linear based. So you had to teach them where point A was, and then to get to point B. And then usually it was like a decision tree. So I'm either going to go this way, or that way. And the chatbot was deciding which path am I going to take the user down. And so a linear path of customer interaction via a chatbot is the old way. and natural language processing and truly understanding what the user is asking for is the new way.
Yep. That makes sense. And I'm not going to name the company, but I do have a chatbot on the Xenium website. And when I was implementing it years ago, there was the ability to plug in our help center at Zendesk. And as people would ask a question, it was supposed to then kind of predict what they're asking for, and it would get it wrong all the time. I unhinged it because it was just not helpful, and we have a live team behind. And so that's when you and I started talking. It was like there's now generative AI tools that can actually get people what they need and answer to some of their questions. So what makes a tool like an old school chatbot that is like sort of just trying to predict what, because it doesn't understand the language the way an LLM does, the way WiseOx is training on company intellectual property or information that they're willing to train on from a public consumption standpoint. So maybe just walk me through how it works.
So there's a couple different techniques in the world of AI that allow you to contextualize. And when I say AI, I'm talking about AI assistants or AI chatbots, or in our case, AI mascots, to teach them and customize how they operate and give them context. There's a number of tools and techniques that are very technical. Our idea was to try to simplify that a little bit and give small to medium sized businesses and non technical users the opportunity to take advantage of some of these very technical tools that AI labs are working on and make them applicable to everyday users. The most important one, the technical name for it, is called a vector index or embedding. But the best way to describe it is sort of it's the knowledge base and it's the brain of the AI assistant. That can stay separate, safe, and secure from the large language model. So in the case of WiseOx, you're not just interacting with the LLM, you're interacting with your context, which is the vector index and embedding. All of that knowledge can be retrieved in parallel to the large language model. So you can think of it as simply as when I ask Brandon a question, I know that he's in the HR industry and that he works at Xenium and that you have all of this context. And so you're taking all of that plus all the general knowledge and information, and then you're answering the question. So that's a simple way to think about how our AI mascots work.
And training wise, like what's possible? Like if I know when you and I were talking, I was like, the help center is low hanging fruit. It's like we have client employees reaching out about, how do I log into my account or how do I download my W-2? Things like that are HR driven. And we have all that information out there. So we tested out and your system was able to train on, like a handful of help articles just so we could see how it operated. But what's possible? Like that was Zendesk, but what else can we train it on?
Yeah, there's a big use case for us is HR and operations. So you can load all of your HR related content and information, KPIs, standard operating procedures, compliance related information is a really big one. So like anywhere where there's lots and lots of 100 to 1,000 page PDF documents, that's really good content for an AI to be trained on. And what that does is it basically reads through all the information and it finds correlation of the content before you start interacting with it. So think of it like you're onboarding a new employee. You give them all this information. You expect them to take a week to 2 weeks to learn all that information and then have it in their brain and start applying that information to the job that they're going to start doing. The AI can do that very quickly. So it can learn from and store as part of their memory all of that content and information. The first use case really that we've been talking about is sort of the low-hanging fruit part of that, retrieving specific parts or maybe multiple different pieces and parts of that content. So I don't have to go read through the compliance information. I can just ask the AI assistant my question. It will go read through the compliance information, find the answer, and format the answer in the right way and deliver it back to me. So that's what we call retrieval or, basic FAQ kind of stuff. Support use cases are obvious for that. HR help desk is obvious for that. Sales and marketing, just inbound pricing and early customer discovery is really useful for that. The next layer beyond the low-hanging fruit use cases are more generative AI. So now that it has the knowledge and context of your business or whatever you've trained it on, it can create net new content that is informed by all of that information. So think about sales. You're writing a lot of emails to customers, and maybe you forget what's the difference between product A and product B, or what are some case studies that we have that back up this, or what are the steps that the customer needs to go through in order to onboard. So all of this daily workforce communication that needs to happen can be dramatically improved by person with an AI assistant.
Are you seeing your clients that have adopted WiseOx so far, have they been using it for their internal purposes, like employees asking these questions? Are they using it for client, like external related things as well? It sounds like both.
It is both. Most of our use cases have started internally. A lot of our customers, almost all of them actually, I'd say 90% of our customers, we are their first AI business implementation. They may, like you said, individuals may have gone and signed up for and started utilizing AI in different ways, but we're usually helping them and training and onboarding them to their first launch of a true AI application within their business. Naturally, they want to start internally. How can our internal team and our partners utilize this AI to do their jobs better and faster? As you fast forward, a lot of our customers are starting to go towards more the consumer side of things, or want to go more to the consumer side of things. And there's a little bit more autonomy there, right? You have to see and trust that you are controlling and giving the context to the AI such that its answers are great. We internally, we're a small team. I often joke that we're 7 full-time employees and we have another 4 AI assistants, and they help us in different parts of the business. And I was just the other day reviewing some responses we have one AI assistant that is for customers that are not currently working with us yet. So like sales prospects. And we have another AI that's more support related, that's helping existing customers use our tools and get the most out of the platform that they're looking for. We have one customer success person and we have 2 salespeople. And so these AI assistants are helping us internally, but also are external facing and helping our end users. And I was just reading through some of the responses and I was like smiling to myself how high quality, they're as good or better than what I would have said if the customer asked me this question. Here's the path I would have taken them down. And it feels more conversational, and every answer is unique to that user, as opposed to the old chatbot model where it's like, person asked this, show them this answer. And it may not, like, the correlation was high enough to show them this answer, but the answer may not be 100% correlated to what actually they asked. In generative AI and in the ability of natural language processing increases the correlation between what the person is asking for and the output that the AI gives you.
Does this go beyond chatbot? Have you entered into email? And I'm just curious, like, how far are you taking this? Because there's a lot of different touch points, especially when you talk about external SMS.
Yes.
That sounds all complicated to me. I'm curious, like, where you're dipping your toes and where you're most comfortable with this tool.
All of that. We already have email capabilities. We don't have any text chat right now, but we have that in staging. We've built and proved that it can work. And we also have voice-based, either phone or on a website, just voice interaction with a trained AI mascot.
The AI is voice?
Both. You can talk to it just like I'm talking to you.
Do you have multiple languages?
Yes.
In that as well?
Yes.
That's incredible. How do you even go about build something like that? I mean, not to go too deep into the technical aspect, but I guess I didn't realize that you're going beyond chatbot, or that you had been beyond chatbot.
Yeah, from actually day one, we said it's really important that we go beyond chat.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
Text, like ChatGPT, the actual innovation that happened there was putting it into a chatbot, which made it much more approachable. End users or everyday users to be able to interact with an AI. Conversation is probably the best way to describe it. Less chatbot, more conversation, or you're just prompting. You've probably heard of the term prompting. Prompting is asking an AI to do something for you in a chat conversation type of format. But our AIs also perform tasks in the background. You don't have to go to a website and prompt it in order to do something for you. Once you have a trained AI and once you've integrated it within your business, it can perform tasks for you in the background. And those tasks right now are starting to be multi-step. You've probably heard of like AI reasoning.
Mm-hmm. I was using the 3 mile today. It reasoned for like a minute before it gave me an answer.
Step-by-step reasoning is kind of like 10 steps beyond the concept of the knock knock joke. Debates and stuff like that. You have to, if somebody says something, I reason in my mind about which way I might want to take this. I develop an argument and then I say it. That's essentially what the AI can do for your business. And when you think about the number of tasks that has the potential to do, no question, it's going to change the way that we work. It's going to change our individual daily lives. It's going to change the makeup of our organizations. And we definitely don't fear that. We try to get our customers not to fear that. I understand that people fear change, but change also creates opportunity, and 100% guaranteed that there's opportunity for human workers to do great things assisted by AI rather than thinking the AI is going to come for my job.
Right. I'm definitely one of those people that I see the opportunity. I see the future. There's a lot of people that are uneasy about the security compliance standpoint, especially when you talk about HR, personal identifiable information. With the amount of phishing attacks and other ways to get into people's systems, it's a little scary at times, especially when you add a tool like this. So I'm curious how you've handled the security and compliance standpoint. And I'm sure you're often met with resistance around like, IT's not going to go for this, or we can't do this. We have secure information, intellectual property. How do we know it's secure?
There's actually a lot of energy and effort being put into this space right now because it's a huge customer need and demand and a hurdle that they need to get over in order to utilize a product like WiseOx. And so we have a variety of ways of communicating this, but the under the hood, the context or vector index that I was talking about, the brain of our AI mascot, we store that in a cloud environment that's very, very similar to how you are already storing your documentation, for example. So you've already gotten over the hurdle of cloud collaboration, cloud storage. We basically tap into that kind of environment, and then we connect that to the large language model. When you're interacting with WiseOx, we like to say 80% of the information is coming from that secure, unique, proprietary storage of your content, and 20% of the information is coming from the large language model. So we first go to your proprietary information. We gather all the data that is relevant to whatever prompt you just asked or whatever question you just asked. And then that's unstructured data. It's not formatted in a way that would be logical. And this is where the LLM comes into play. Then we ask the LLM to basically read the prompt, read the unstructured information, and generate the response. And that is happening. It's ephemeral. So it happens in the moment in time. It's encrypted when that happens, and then it's gone. We keep all of your data safe and secure. We do store that in our environments. You obviously have to trust us. You have to trust the third-party providers that we have. But the design of the system was built with safety, security, and controllability is also a huge thing. Like, how can I be sure that this is going to give the responses that I expect it to?
Yeah.
We give transparency to the user, just like I was doing the other day. I was looking at the history and the responses. We have some automated ways to do this, but if you want the peace of mind, you can go look at the conversation threads of prior interactions that the AI did for you. And you can say, wow, that's great. Or no, that's not so good. We have tuning methods. We have what's called reinforcement learning from human feedback. That's a AI industry term. We have some features that basically do that same thing. So you can kind of, if the AI is going in this direction, you want it to go in this direction, you can kind of tune it to the language and the responses and the accuracy level that you're looking for over time.
When you said like it's doing all those things behind the scenes, like so if I have like an employee or somebody externally talking with a mascot of mine, doing all of those things behind the scenes within seconds, gives me a response. Then you said that it's then gone at that point, like once they close out the chat, you store it. But how do I know that is not being used in one of your other clients' environments, or that it's not training in different environments and it's not getting intermixed? And that's probably maybe an elementary question for you, somebody who understands this. But I'm sure that people are concerned, like, if I give you my intellectual property, it's trained on it, and I have people interacting with it on the chat side or email, that it's not going to be used for a competitor of mine that might be using your tool.
You have to trust us. That's part of the deal. But the way our business is set up, we're a B2B company. We charge for the usage of our software. We're not free models. So you've probably heard the saying, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product.
Yep.
That is very true in social media. It's something that we should be really cautious of as business people. Free tools are not free. They're getting your data, they're getting your information. When you pay for something, there's a legal business to business agreement that outlines ownership, storage, and rights and usage of your data. That legal document, when a customer signs up for us, controls what we're allowed to do and not allowed to do. But generally, because we're a software provider and customers are paying us, we don't have, a secondary business goal to use their data or sell their data in another way. We make money through the subscription of our software.
That makes sense. Yeah, and the trust goes a long ways because people will keep that subscription. Give me like some insight on pricing, and you don't have to disclose how much it is per month, but maybe just kind of a range of what people could expect to pay for something like this. And feel free to model like a 200 person company that has one mascot.
So typically we are a little bit heavier on the support side, especially right now. Most of our customers are actually in the senior living industry or assisted living industry. And we have tailored some tools and capabilities specific to that, but generally you can use WiseOx for a variety of industries. But we understand and know the use cases that those customers want, the desired outcomes that they're looking for, and therefore our customer success team kind of can predict what the end result is that the customer is going for. So typically we're providing a high level of touch and customer service. And our programs often start at around $2,500 a month on an annual commitment. And that includes, we've outlined kind of 5 steps to take you from no trained AI to fully trained AI tested. We have like a concentric circle concept. So there's usually a small team working on building it for the first time. And those people have a lot of fun actually, because that's the group that's like getting under the hood and being able to see, oh, AI isn't that intimidating. It's actually really fun to work with. And because we have this mascots concept, our mascots are named, and the team starts to like feel like it's an external team member, and they refer to it by name, and then they release it to usually 10 to 15 testers or other people that they can interact with it, give it more content and data to be able to learn from or validate its knowledge and performance. And then the last step is to launch it to end users.
Seems pretty easy.
Yeah. It takes, 3 weeks would be fast. 6 weeks is pretty normal to go from 0 to fully launched and deployed.
And I say it's easy because it does seem like implementation would be easy, but I think the biggest hurdle would be the change management around here's where we were and here's where we are now. What's the adoption been like, and just that whole sentiment around change management going from, manual processes to something like this, which is just extraordinary.
Obviously, you want to have a leader that believes in it, and that the leader has decided this is going to be a major change and trend in how we work. Let's dig our feet in. And it's okay to fail. It's okay to come up with the wrong idea or not get the output we're looking for. Nobody wants that, but you got to go into it with that understanding. And then you learn from it. And most of our customers launch their first mascot. And right now our average is like 2 to 3 months before they say, oh, we want to use it for this. Now that I know how it works, and now that I've seen it work in this use case, now I want to use it for this. And so part of our job right now is actually networking of our user group and our customers to talk to each other so that they can say, oh, I'm using it for this. And the other customer started in this other place, but now they both have the same goal. And so we try to bring them together and get them talking to each other so that they can demystify things a little bit, or maybe shortcut a few steps in the process that the other person learned, because everybody is doing this for the first time.
A couple more quick things and I'll let you go. I like to ask people this just because to me, when AI came on the scene for most of us, ChatGPT, and we started playing around with it, we got excited. And a little fearful at times too. I think there's two camps. I'm actually a little bit of both. I'm like, man, what does this mean for society in general, and just like in terms of like what skills we need to keep developing, but also just the possibilities of having to. I've seen it in my own work. It's incredible the amount of stuff I can get done using some of these tools that are now available. But I often think about what skills do I need to keep developing so that way I'm sharp, I'm going to fit in with the modern workforce. I know a lot of people are feeling that same way. What's your take on that? Like, what kind of things should we be learning while we're adopting to these AI tools? Because I think the answer is you can't just blindly turn an eye to these tools because people who are using it are going to pass us by. But if you can think into the future, like the skills plus how to learn some of these tools, what do you think?
Definitely think that creative thinking and coming up with a good vision and a good plan, because AI is only as good as your ability to ask it to do what you want it to do, which is actually the same thing as management, right? If you have a team and they're a highly paid team and they're a great team, but if you come up with a bad plan and you don't put the right steps in place, you don't incentivize them the right way, you're not going to get the right output. And AI is very similar. If you have a good plan if you have a strong way of communicating what your desired outcome is, AI is going to be an accelerant for you. You know, people prompt engineering, or I need to go take a course on prompting.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. You should do that. Absolutely. But it's not like it's that much different. It's really just how good are the questions that you're asking. Make sure that every word counts. Understand what the highest quality, there's this trend in outcomes, right? We're all looking for, customers want outcomes. They want the thing that you're delivering at the end of the day. If you want high quality outcomes from an AI, you have to be really good at instructions and communicating and setting them up and configuring them. If you think of an HR people management system, it's software at the end of the day. And if you use 20% of the features, you're not going to get the high quality output. So you have to put the time and energy in to make it do what you want it to do. And this people management systems, CRM systems, inventory, and like I wanted to say EHR, which is health records, but more ERP. These are like big systems that if you get them to work right for your business, they're like a huge accelerant, right? There's game changing the way that you operate. AI is going to be the same way.
Look into the future for me if you can make some predictions, because I know there was a saying like we overestimate what we could do in 1 year, but in 10 years time we totally underestimate what we can do. What do you think is going to be the next 1 to 2 years as far as AI and adoption? And then if you could look into the future in 10 years, what does society look like? What kind of things could we expect? I know you're very plugged in, so I'm curious what your take is on that.
Well, first of all, I love we underestimate what we can do in 10 years and we overestimate what we can do in 1 year. I think we are looking at a decade-long shift here. So while it feels like it's moving really fast, don't let that force you into procrastination. Just jump in and get started and try things because you have time to learn. It's not like you're going to get left behind if you don't get it right the first time. So that's an important thing to know. The other important thing is that the task-based capabilities of AI is going to be the next big unlock. That's what we're working on here at WiseOx. Our mascots are capable of performing reasoning and multi-step workflows and stuff like that. But the next version of our software will have a lot more ways to configure your AI mascot so that it can do a multi-step job for you and you can trust its output. So for example, in HR, a lot of our customers, especially in senior living, there's a lot of onboarding and offboarding, and you've got hundreds of resumes and job applicants to sort through, and you want to make sure that you find the right people. And there's applicant tracking systems to be able to do that, but they want the AI to handle the first part. I want to look at this person, look at this resume. I want to train it to understand which job description I'm looking for, what skill sets and what personality traits do I want within my company, and then have the AI handle the first couple steps of the interaction so that you can increase the speed to lead, the lead time from when an applicant reaches out to you to their fit with an opportunity and therefore a scheduled interview. And so AI can really be a good accelerant to that, those multi-steps in the workflow. And so that's one of the first use cases that we're tackling with our workflow. We call it widgets and tasks, that we are making the AI understand the steps in the process and execute them without you having to do anything.
Fritz, good stuff. I wanted to keep going forever. So this is very exciting. I really enjoy the conversation, and I hope this is not the last time we talk about this on the podcast. So I welcome you back anytime. But in the meantime, where can people connect with you, learn more about WiseOx or anything that you're up to?
Yeah, wiseox.com is our URL, and Fritz at wiseox.com is the best way to reach out to me. Happy to talk. I've done multiple podcasts, speaking engagements. I've actually done some also like corporate retreats where they just want to have somebody to get them thinking about. So I have a few little workshops and things that I can do to help your business understand the opportunity for your industry. Happy to explore that, or just have a beer and chat with you about AI.
I'm in on that. My guest today has been Fritz Brumder, the co-founder of WiseOx. Fritz, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning in for today's episode of Transform Your Workplace. The content on this show is strictly for general information and educational purposes only, so that you can go transform your workplace in a positive way. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on the show are the guest's own and don't represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of either Xenium HR, the sponsor of the show, or me, the host, Brandon Laws. Additionally, Xenium HR or myself, Brandon Laws, doesn't endorse any guest, their business, or any organization they represent, so discretion is advised. We encourage you to work with a trusted advisor to find a custom approach that fits your organization's needs. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode.